Insar 1. My student said, "You asked me which tenor I should imitate at this stage to improve my level, and that is not an easy question to answer. Right now, I must unlock the section of the clock from 12 to 9, so I need a tenor who uses the entire resonance system. The first ones that come to my mind are Pertile and Tucker. Instinctively, I feel that Pertile can help me make my abdomen vibrate even more strongly, so I will start with Pertile." My response: I previously told you that you can try learning from whichever tenor you feel can stimulate your abdominal breath support. You can start with Pertile. However, my opinion is that I do not recommend you study him. His singing technique relies on strong air pressure and a downward push, and moreover, it requires maximizing the expansion of the resonance chamber, something that very few in history have been able to achieve. Although I have collected many of his recordings, I have never studied him exclusively. I only study him when he appears in my collection of 4 tenors recordings. I do not study him alone because the difficulty is too high. Even though I imitated him a few years ago and was quite satisfied with my own voice, I still try to avoid learning from him directly. Instead, I focus on solidifying my foundation in all aspects, and once my technique is fully developed, his style will naturally emerge in my singing. My friend said, "This weekend I have been thinking about a particular issue. In fact, this issue has troubled me for many years, but recently, through studying with you, it has become even more urgent. I am referring to the lowering of the larynx. I have noticed that the larynx does not always lower properly, especially when singing high notes starting from G sharp, where it tends to slide upward. This indicates that my breath control is still not stable enough." My response to: the issue you raised is extremely important for every singer, yet 99% of singers cannot solve it. The so-called methods they use are mostly incorrect. For example, Corelli's yawning technique. While this theory exists among humans, it is completely wrong. First of all, Corelli's yawning does not actually lower the larynx. Instead, his larynx still rises while singing because the upper part of his throat is constantly being expanded by large amounts of air, which eliminates his abdominal breath support. As a result, he can only rely on the muscles in his throat to produce sound, which is incorrect. Another common idea is that breath should be swallowed downward into the throat. While the principle might be correct, it is not practical because singing requires both projecting sound outward and swallowing air downward, which is fundamentally contradictory. There are other methods as well, but none of them are right. What I want to emphasize is that the lowering of the larynx cannot be maintained simply by forcing it downward. The position of the larynx is closely related to the state of the pharyngeal cavity. If the pharynx is not fully opened, the larynx cannot stay low. What you need to do first is completely open the pharyngeal cavity. Then let the larynx move closer to the stomach. This concept may not have been proposed by anyone before. I want to recommend Richard Tucker to you. Today, I will play his rendition of Senza Nishuno. Try to imitate his singing and send me a recording. You can also imitate Pertile and send me a recording as well. Why do I recommend Tucker? He was a cantor in a Jewish synagogue, which gave him an exceptionally solid vocal technique and emotional expression. Compared to Pertile, he is more comprehensive as a singer. After Caruso, who sang the best, I would say Tucker. His breath control and vocal placement are exceptionally precise. His fundamental tone is broad and expansive, and his overtones resonate effortlessly, unlike Pertile's vibrato, which often feels rushed. In my personal opinion, Tucker's resonance is the finest in history. If studying his technique proves effective, one could even forgo learning from others. He is truly an indispensable tenor. Students message 3. However, perhaps practicing the expansion of the pharyngeal cavity could also help resolve this issue. In the video, the professor suggested using the U vowel in the final exercise, as it naturally helps connect the breath and allows the larynx to lower more easily. But in reality, this is still a breath support issue rather than just a laryngeal issue. Do you think I should do specific exercises to address this problem, or should I continue following our training method, trusting that this issue will eventually be resolved? Thank you very much, teacher. My response 3. I recommend that you watch this female teacher's explanation as a way to gain some preliminary knowledge. However, following her theories and methods will never develop proper breath control in a singer. At best, they can help you experience some abdominal pressure and resistance, but these concepts are far from how breath should actually be used in singing, making them impractical. She mentions practicing a particular vowel, but that alone is not decisive in solving the issue. As your level improves, I will explain these problems in more detail. I won't go into a deep analysis today. What I want to emphasize is that breath control requires the coordination of the entire body. It is not an isolated action. Practicing any single note will not truly solve the problem. Here, I recommend that you practice singing by producing a flat and steady fundamental tone. This sound should resonate in your chest as wide as possible, like an Italian pizza or a restaurant plate, extending from your back chest to the front chest, pressing all around. This is a forward push. Of course, pushing the sound from your throat to your mouth is wrong, but using breath to push within your body is not a problem. Caruso did this as well, but today, most people don't understand how to do this. Luciano Virgili's singing technique is also based on this. You need to develop a good habit where, when singing, your mouth stays below your throat, as Gigli said. Every note you sing should be done with this in mind. The area above your mouth is simply where the air from your body is released, with no effort. You might have seen some tenors in history who seem to use their mouth a lot, and indeed, some real tenors might look like this. However, their effort is not in amplifying the sound in their mouth, but in shaping their mouth to adjust the resonance chamber's position and shape. This is something you haven't fully grasped yet, but as your skill improves, you will understand it better.